It's Christmas and we're making cookies. Coming right up. Hey, and welcome back to a very festive Chromeworks Studios here in Ottawa, Canada. It's snowing out here, at least virtually, and we're here with a special holiday edition. We're going to be making a fun little game to celebrate the holidays and give you guys a chance to do something fun and creative during your time off here. So let me give you guys a look at today's project. It's quite fun. It was... just a sec, let me switch over here. So this was designed by Liam Desrosiers, who's one of our 4 co-op students joining us with Chromeworks this quadmester. Liam is quite an experienced coder in his spare time, and he's really jumped into Scratch and done a great job. The music was made by another one of our co-op students named Kaylin Allard, and he's just joined us a little while ago, but he's a great music composer. So when you hear the background music here, you'll know that that is Liam's work. So, sorry, that is Kaylin's work. So congratulations, Kaylin, on writing a nice little tune here. So let me show you guys a little bit about how this game works. It's so we're simply making gingerbread cookies. You can drag the gingerbread cookie maker over onto the dough here and click down to load it up with some dough, and then drop the dough onto the pan. Once you've done that, you can click this maximize button, and that will give you access to all of the different piping, icing pieces here. I'm going to grab a red one here, and you can see we can click and drag across the screen, and we can paint this red, and we put it back by clicking on the yellow here. Let's grab a white one, and we'll keep going with the piping around the edges here. And you can see we could do a nice little design. I'm not going to spend a lot of time decorating this. We also have green and red gumdrops that we can put on top of it. So let me drag one of these out here. Just like that. We can drop them down for the eyeballs. And grab a green one here to make buttons, perhaps. So just a fun little holiday project. It's not too complicated and should be really good for you beginner users. So let's get into the coding here, and I'll show you guys how it's made. All right, so let's look at what we have here. We've got a starter file, as we always do, that has all the graphics and sound effects you're going to need to make this particular project. You can find that in the link to that in the description to this file, or you can go to chromeworks.ca and find it there as well. We also have a PDF code reference there that you can use to print out all the code you're going to be using in the project. So everything you need over on the web if you're interested. So let's have a look at what we have here in our starter file. We've got our cookie cutter, which actually has 2 different costumes. There's some extra ones here that I forgot to delete. So there's 2 different costumes here, an empty one and one that has cookie in it. Then we've got our dough, we've got our pan, we've got our actual cookie, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff here for decorating cookies with. We've got red and green jujubes and these jujubes that go in the bowl. And then we've got 3 piping, decorating, icing dispensers here in 3 different colors as well. And we're going to be using all of these along the line here. As I said, there's not too much complicated stuff in here, but there's quite a few sprites to code, so we should probably get to that. Let's start with a green flag. So we're starting with our cookie cutter. That'll be the first sprite that we code here. We're going to send it to its default start position. It probably already knows where that is. That's 176 minus 95. And you can see as soon as I drop it in there, it knows where it already is, so we don't need to punch those numbers in. We're going to switch our costume to the default cookie cutter, the empty cookie cutter costume. So let's go to looks, switch costume to cookie cutter, the one without the word full in it. There we go. Now let's grab a forever loop. And here's where we're going to start checking to see a couple of things. Mainly we're looking to see whether we're clicking and where we're clicking. So different things happen depending on where and when you clicked here. It's fairly complicated, but I'm going to walk you through it. So we start off with an if-else statement. So let's grab one of those. And the if is going to be if backdrop name equals pan full screen. So we've got 2 different backdrops here. one, just a plain one, and then one for when we're actually decorating the cookie on the pan later on. So we're going to kind of zoom in. The pan's going to be small at first, and then we're going to zoom into a bigger version of the pan that's going to have the actual cookie that we're going to decorate on it. So what we're really saying here, let's go back to my cookie cutter. So if I'm on that full screen thing, all this other stuff, including the cookie cutter, is going to be hidden. So let's go grab an equal sign here. So if backdrop name equals, actually, so let's go backdrop name. We'll find that in the looks here. Backdrop number, and we can change that to backdrop name. Now we have to type the name very carefully. You could substitute a number here and just say that this was costume 2, but let's stick with Liam's plan here. Pan space full screen. So capital F, capital P, and a space in between the words. So make sure that's spelled properly, or you can just say backdrop number equals 2. That'll do the same thing. So if that happens, we're going to hide. We don't want to see this cookie cutter if we're already in the full screen mode, because that's for decorating, not for punching out new guys. Okay, otherwise we're going to show this, of course. And we'll move it to the front layer in case anything else gets stacked up on top of it. Now we're going to check and see if we're clicking. So let's go if mouse down. And we can grab a mouse down block from our sensing blocks here. It is this one here with a mouse down question mark. And that one just basically answers true or false, yes or no, 1 or 0. So if we're clicked, then it's basically, we're going to get the thing to follow our mouse cursor. We're going to be able to drag it across the screen, but we can also click where we want it to go. So let's tell it to point towards the mouse pointer. Now it's not actually going to turn to face the mouse pointer because its rotation is locked. If we look over here under direction, you'll see that this little button is blue, and that means it's not allowed to rotate. So no matter what direction it's facing, it's still going to be locked in that up-down position, and that's the way we want it here. But nevertheless, it's going to move towards wherever it is that I've clicked my mouse. So let's tell it to move. And we'll tell it to move. We're going to do a little bit of math here. Let's get a multiplication sign. So rather than just have it simply move over to where we are, to where we click, we're going to have it move faster when it's farther away and slower when it's close. So let's go distance to mouse pointer times 0.2. This is a really cool effect here I want to show you guys. So when my mouse is far away and I click, it will come very quickly to me. But as it comes closer, it'll move slower. It's just a nice, sophisticated interface that really moves stuff around quickly, but smoothly as well. And the cool thing about this is when we try to drag it, even if we're dragging on a spot that's empty, normally you'd be moving your cursor over this and it wouldn't move. But because it's just detecting our mouse down, it will appear to drag across the screen no matter where we put it, which is nice. And even if our mouse gets ahead. So what happens if you're just doing collision detection on this, instead of doing it this way, is if I drag my mouse too fast, it'll leave the cursor behind and you'll drag and it'll end up getting stuck behind and you have to go back and do it again and again and again. This way, in one click, you can always get it to where you want it to go. So it's a really nice little movement system we set up here. All right, let's go back to our code. All right, that's a little big. Okay. Now that we've got our thing moving around, we've got to check and see what we're clicking on. So if we're clicking on the dough, we want to fill up this with dough. We want to change this costume around. And then when we're on the pan, we want to check and see, do we have dough in our hands or not? So if we punch this down and there's no dough in our hands, then of course we're not going to get a cookie on the plate. So there's some fairly complex if statements needed here to get that going. What we're really saying is, first of all, if I'm clicking on this and I'm on the dough, then let's fill it with dough. And if I'm clicking on this and I'm full of dough and I'm over the pan and I click, then we'll drop a cookie down on this pan, basically. So a whole bunch of things we have to check for here. All right, so let's underneath here. So we're I've got all these if statements here. I just want to make sure I'm in the right place. I'm not steering you wrong here. So yeah, we're outside of these if statements here. We're starting a new if else down below here. So let's make sure we prop it into the proper place. I'm going to put it down below the other if else statement. Hold it, no, 2 layers down. Right like this. So you'll know you're in the right place with this if there are 2 orange layers on top of it. So the if statement and the else statement are both on top of this. So we're just dropping this down, still inside the forever, but outside of everything else we've just built here. Hope that's making sense to you. All right, so if touching dough, let's grab a touching from our sensing block. So if we're touching the dough, we're going to wait for our mouse to be unclicked here. So let's add another if statement in here. And we're going to say if not mouse down. So nothing's going to happen until we let go of our mouse. So let's put a not here. And we'll grab a mouse down from our sensing blocks. So as soon as we let go of the mouse, we're going to switch the costume to the one that's full. So let's go to looks. Switch costume to cookie cutter full. Okay, we can actually test that out now. Let's go green flag. And so we can drag over to here. And you can see that it's still empty, but when we let go of our mouse and now pick it up, now it's full of dough. So we just punched that dough into it. Beautiful. Now we need to go over and determine what happens when we click on here to make it put the cookie down onto the tray here. So that's what happens inside the else statement here. We're basically going to be checking to next. We're going to check and see. So if we're not touching the dough, we're going to check and see, are we touching the pan? So we need a complicated if statement in here with 3 different things we're checking for. Let's put the if into the else statement. And we're going to grab 2 and statements and plunk them together. So this and this are true, basically. And the 3 things we're checking for is, first of all, have we let go of the mouse button? I'm going to duplicate this not mouse down just to save a little bit of time. So if not mouse down and I'm touching the pan, and my costume name equals cookie cutter full. So let's do that. And costume name, let's go to our looks commands here and go costume name, which is towards the bottom. We'll grab costume number and change it to costume name. And we need to put that inside an equal sign. We'll grab that from the operators. So this is one of the most complicated bits of coding here. The rest of it gets fairly simple after that. All right, so if costume name equals, let's make sure we spell it properly, cookie cutter full. I'm not a big fan of writing the names of costumes inside these things because it's too easy to do a typo. Generally, I want to go with the costume number instead of the costume name when I'm coding these things. Okay, so if that's the case, if we're clicking on the pan, then we're going to switch. So let's go to our looks here, and we'll switch costume to cookie cutter. We're going to empty this out because our dough is on the pan here, and we're going to broadcast a message. So let's go to our events blocks, and we'll broadcast a message here that says cookie placed. Let's type right in there, cookie placed. Okay, so far so good. Now the cookie cutter is going to be empty, but our cookie's not going to end up on the tray yet because we haven't coded that. Let's give it a little test though and have a look here. So I'm over here, I click and nothing happens, but I'm on the dough and I click, or actually just as soon as I let go, it fills up the cookie cutter with dough, and when I place it down here and let go, it empties again. So the cookie's going to appear on the tray and my cutter is going to be empty. Working beautifully so far. Okay, very happy with the way this is coming along. I don't think there's very much more code inside this guy. There's just one other little block. We might as well finish coding this guy just because we only have one more block of code to go. So when I receive cookie up close, I want to move to a new location, and that's going to be basically placing it, I think, over on the side of the tray when we're done with it. So let's just go ahead and do that. We'll see what this does later. We just have to, it's the last piece of code inside this cookie cutters, and there's only 2 blocks, so we might as well do it. So let's go when I receive, new message, and we'll call it cookie up close. We're just going to send it to a new location. So let's go to our motion blocks, and we'll say, we'll go to X of 200 and a Y of minus 200. Let's just see where that places it. I'll just tell it to go there. Yeah, and it goes down off the side of the screen there. Okay, that, I guess it's just going to be off the side of the tray. The tray is going to be quite a bit bigger in its final version, of course. When we're decorating it, it's going to be full like this. And so it'll, yeah, just place it off to the side of the screen like that. Okay, good. We are making excellent progress here. So we are done with the cookie cutter. I think we can just move on to the dough. Let's go ahead and work on the dough now. So the second sprite over. There's a whole bunch of these that are going to look very, very similar. All we have to do with this code is make these things appear sometimes and disappear other times. We're really interacting with the gingerbread cookie and with the backdrop that the gingerbread cookie's on. So most of these things are just about placing the blocks down. So let's tell this dough where to go on the screen and when it should be hidden and when it should show. When green flag clicked, let's have it go to its starting position. It probably already knows its starting position, which is -7, -89. Yes, that's correct. And we'll grab a forever here. And we'll go grab an if statement here. So if backdrop name equals pan full screen, so if we're in the full screen, we're going to want to hide this. So let's go backdrop name under our looks here. Backdrop name. Here it is, backdrop number. We'll change that to name. If backdrop name equals pan full screen, there we go. Oh, and this is an if else. Sorry, I made that mistake. I'm only human. There we go. If backdrop name equals pan full screen, that means we're in full screen mode. This dough can hide. We don't need it when we're in full screen mode. Otherwise, we're going to show it. So at the beginning of the game, we'll show it, and then when we go full screen, it'll be hidden. We don't have our full screen enabled yet, so we cannot test that out yet. I think we've got something similar happening in the pan here, though. Let's go have a look at our code for the pan. Yeah, and so it's almost identical. So let's go ahead and just drag the code over from the dough. We're going to copy it over into the pan, and we'll just make some minor changes. So the code here, we want to go to the back layer. So this is going to actually go, the pan's going to go behind the cookie and behind everything else, of course. So let's go to our looks and go to back layer. We're going to enter some new numbers here. So -6x and 87y. And then we'll move the pan to the proper location, which is basically where it is right now. All right, and let's go over to our gingerbread cookie now, and we'll start coding that. And a couple of things to do here. All right, when green flag clicked, so we've got a variable called cookie placed here, and that is keeping track of whether we actually put the cookie down on the tray yet or not. So at the beginning, we'll set that variable cookie placed to 0 because we haven't put it on the tray yet. We'll set its size to 100%. Later on, we're going to blow that up to 200% because our tray is going to get bigger. You can see our big tray down here and our little tray. So when we click on this button, we're going to zoom in and look at this tray from a bigger perspective. All right, let's tell it to go to its starting position, which is already locked in here, 197x and y of 53. And we'll tell it to hide here. Okay. And so here again, we're checking to see if our mouse cursor is hovering over the pan or not. So we're not going to do anything in here. We're just going to keep track of whether we're over the pan or not. So we're going to do and if we're, so he set this up with two if statements. I think it might work as an if else, but I'm going to stick with Liam's plan here because the code does work and it shows a different way to do this. So let's go if touching mouse pointer. So touching mouse pointer, which is under our sensing blocks. If touching mouse pointer, we're going to broadcast a message here. Broadcast the message touching icing. And we're going to do a second if statement here that says if not touching mouse pointer. So let's go to our operators. We'll grab a not and plunk that in there. Then we're going to broadcast not touching icing. So this is going to be important later on when we're trying to put our icing down on the cookies. We don't want to have icing all over our pan, so we're going to make it so that it knows whether we're hovering over the cookie or not, and that will enable our pen tool to draw on that cookie possibly. Okay, we're going to do a couple of other little blocks of code here. Let's go when I receive cookie placed. So that was what we set up before, so this should actually get something going in our game now. So let's go when I receive cookie placed. We're going to tell the cookie to go to the cookie cutter, where the cookie cutter is now. So let's go to, I'm going to grab the random position and change it to cookie cutter. So it's going to teleport, so this cookie is going to teleport over to where our cookie cutter was. And remember, we're going to switch back to the empty one, and we're actually going to place the cookie down on the pan here. Let's go show, that's invisible. And then we're going to set that variable, set cookie placed to 1. And we're going to make sure it's in the front layer. Let's go to the front layer. There we go. Now, only a little bit more code here. We might as well finish this guy up before we move on here. So we also have the zoom function here. When I receive cookie up close, we're going to want to blow up this gingerbread cookie bigger. So let's go ahead and do that. Just 4 blocks to do here. When I receive cookie up close, we're going to set that size to 200%. Our cookie's going to get quite a bit bigger because we're zoomed. We're going to go to a new location, and that new location is 27 and 12. Now the cookies, there's some weird stuff happening here that I have to explain to you. So the cookie's going to be stamped down into that spot. We want to know when we're hovering over it because we have to know whether we're allowed to put icing over it and whether we're allowed to put sprinkles on it or jujubes or whatever it is they are. But the actual image we're going to be painting is going to be the background costume, which is the cookie here. Now the question you're probably asking yourself is, so here it is, here's the cookie that we're going to be painting, is why don't we just paint the cookie itself instead of making the cookie a little bit invisible and then painting on the background? The reason is the pen tool, which we're going to be using for drawing here, it can't draw on sprites, it can only draw on backgrounds. So what we're going to have to do here is hide this cookie so that we can collide with it, but so that we can't see it. And those of you who've been with us for a while will know the trick to doing that, which is, let's go to our looks here and we'll go set the ghost effect, which makes it transparent. We're going to make it so close to transparent it's not even funny. We're going to make it 99, and that will make it almost invisible, so invisible you won't be able to see it, but the computer will still see it and know we're detecting on it, and we can use that information about whether we're colliding with it. We couldn't do color here to collide off of. We can't say when touching brown because there's different shades of brown in this cookie, and that's going to mess us up later. So it's very important that we still be able to detect whether we're touching the cookie, but we can't paint on it, so that's why we're making it invisible. I hope that makes sense to you guys. All right, I think we can test this now. Let's click the green flag, and our screen's looking, oh, we're into the full screen mode here now. So something hasn't been reset here. We're into the full screen mode. All right, so we haven't enabled this button yet, which means that we're kind of stuck in this view. Let's keep coding here and we'll be able to fix that, I think, once we get this full screen button set up properly here. So let's go to our full screen button and we'll do a little bit of coding on that and hopefully that'll solve all our problems. So we're going to go when this sprite clicked. That's an event we don't use too often anymore. So when this sprite clicked, when I click on that little full screen button at the top of my screen here, we're going to tell it if cookie placed equals 1. So if we've actually put the cookie down, let's grab an equal here. And we'll grab a little bubble from our variables that says cookie placed. If that equals 1, if we've actually put our cookie down, then we're going to do a few things. We're going to set pan screen to 1. That's going to tell it to go into this bigger view. We're going to switch the backdrop. So we'll go to our looks commands here and we'll switch our backdrop to pan full screen. And we're going to broadcast that message that says cookie up close. And that'll make a few things happen. And we still haven't initialized this. So let's go to our green flag. When the green flag is clicked, we'll go show, and we'll tell it to get to its starting position, which is -159, -165. All right, so we still haven't been able to enable this view and test our gingerbread out. I'm just going to have a look at the code and see. Okay, so it turned out it was just our background that was messed up, and that's what made me think things weren't working properly. We can actually just go into our backdrop right now and set that up just for the purposes of testing. So let's go when green flag clicked. We're in our backdrop. We're just going to switch our backdrop to backdrop, which is kind of odd. So switch backdrop to backdrop. And now when we click the green flag, we'll be back in our starting position here and we can actually test our project out here. So I'm going to move my cookie over to the dough. When I let go, it fills it up with dough. Bring it back to the pan. When I let go, you can see that it puts the cookie down in that spot and it empties out my cookie cutter again. Looking really good now. Good. So now we are ready to move on to the part where we can decorate our cookies, and we're going to click here and you can see that the screen gets big and we're ready to go. So now we just have to make our tools appear and make them start to function. So perfect. We're doing great. All right, so let's start with the icing, I think. Actually, we'll start with our gumdrops here. So let's go to the bowl green. We're just going to do this in the order we see it on the screen here. It's not that critical which comes first. So when the sprite clicked, we're going to send a message saying that we're going to put a green gumdrop in there. We're going to pull one green drop out of this bowl. So let's go to when the green flag, when this sprite clicked, we're going to broadcast a message. So let's go broadcast. And we don't have one of these messages yet. So let's make a new one that says gumdrop green. Good. Now most of the action is going to happen in the actual gumdrop, which we'll code next. But let's add a little bit more code here for this thing telling the green bowl where to appear and when to appear. So we're going to use that same block we used for the pan and for the dough just to position this. So let's not reinvent the wheel here. We're going to just go to our dough and we'll drag this big block of code over to our green bowl. I don't think I did that properly. I just dragged my green bowl to the beginning of the project. That is no good. Okay, let's try that one more time. So grab it from the top and move it over to the bowl. You'll see it wiggle a little bit to tell you that it's superimposed properly. Let go. And there it is. Our code has arrived in the proper location. And I've actually put it there twice, so I did do it properly the first time. There we go. We just want to change the start location here. So let's go -206. And y of +117, and that'll put that green bowl into the right spot. If we're in the full screen, it's going to hide, and Otherwise, it's going to show. So let's try that out and see if that appears here. Hold it. I think it's the opposite. Sorry, we want to show when we're in the full screen and hide elsewhere. Yeah, there we go. So it's not visible until it's time to decorate. Let's try that out. We'll stamp our cookie, get it on the plate, maximize, and there's our bowl of jujubes. Okay, we're done with that. Let's go ahead and place the green and code the green gumdrop. So there's a couple of things we're going to want to do here. Let's just get a starting position for it. Again, we want it to be formed right on top of the gumdrop dispensing bowl here. So let's go to minus 193, 107 is what we want, so that's good. And we'll tell it to hide. We don't want it to appear until we're ready for it. Now we're going to put a reset button into here that's going to clear off all the decorations on this cookie so you can start again. Might as well code that right now. So let's go when I receive a reset. We haven't done that one yet. So let's just type reset. So when I reset, we're going to delete this clone, which will actually delete all the clones because it has no way of knowing which clone we're deleting. So all your gumdrops will disappear when that happens. All right. And when I receive that gumdrop green, so when I click on that green bowl, we're going to receive that message here in the gumdrops, gumdrop green, and we're going to tell it to make a clone. So it's going to make a copy of this green gumdrop. So let's go create a clone of myself. And that is going to be stuck to our mouse cursor until we click. So let's tell it when I started the clone. Let's bring it to the front layer, of course, because we don't want it behind our cookie. We'll tell it to show the master gumdrop's invisible, but the clone one's going to show here. And now we want it to stick to our mouse pointer until we click. So here's what we're going to do. We're going to go repeat until. Let's grab a repeat until block, and we're going to tell it repeat until I let go of the mouse cursor. So let's go. We can do that by going not mouse down in our sensing blocks. So repeat until I let go of my mouse cursor. Now you'll know I'll be clicked on it because I've already clicked on the bowl. My mouse is down already, so otherwise you'd think that it would be detecting all the time because I'm not clicking. But in that moment that's being created, it actually, the mouse is down. So we'll know not to do anything next until I let go of that mouse cursor. Okay, let's get back to my gumdrop here. And we'll tell it to go to the mouse cursor. So it's just going to stick to my mouse cursor. I can show you that right now. So that's under motion. We'll say go to mouse pointer. There we go. So that'll make it stick to our cursor. Let's just test that out quickly. We'll go stamp this down. And we'll maximize. We'll grab a gumdrop. Oh, I grab the gumdrop and let it go. You see, if I let go of it, it places it down here. So I have to, every time I do this, it places one down. Beautiful. Now what I want to happen here is I don't want to put gumdrops on the tray. I want to drag them over to here. So I'm going to make it so that if I let go and it's not touching the cookie, it's just going to put it back in the tray again. And so that's the next step here. So underneath here, once it finishes this repeat, it's going to do one last check to see if I'm touching the gingerbread person. So we're going to go control if not touching gingerbread person. So let's grab a not touching under sensing here, touching gingerbread person. If not touching, then we'll delete the clone. And you'll see how that works here. So let's go green flag. Finish that up, maximize this, grab a gumdrop. It works when we put it here, but when we try to let it go on the pan, it just disappears. Beautiful. All right, as you can probably guess, there's not too much different to do on the red bowl. So let's take all our code from the green bowl and copy it over to the red bowl. So the two big blocks of code here, we'll take the one. Well, they're not that big, are they? Take the other one. Now, do we have to change anything here? I don't think we have to. Well, we might have to change our starting position here. So let's go to our bold red. And yeah, so the X is still minus 206, but the Y is minus 99. And the rest of it, oh, and we also want to broadcast a new message here that says gumdrop red. There we go. All right, that's it for the gumdrop bowl. Let's go do the gumdrop, and again, we can copy paste a lot of this code. So let's plunk it down, all of this code over in the red gumdrop, all 4 chunks of it. Okay, and lastly, let's go back over to the red gumdrop now, and it has to, we've copied the code over from the green one, and we just got to change the when I receive here to gumdrop red, and then we'll be good to go here. Let's give that a try and make sure it's working. Green flag, stamp our cookie down, expand our screen, and let's grab a green gumdrop. Yes, we can put them down on top of the guy. What if I put it down on the pan? Nope, not allowed. And our red guys are still working. Beautiful. So we're getting very close on this. All we have to do now is get our icing going. So let's get over to one of these icing guys, and then we'll also need our reset button, and then we'll be good to go. So all these icing guys are going to work exactly the same way, just with a few minor changes. So let's start with the red guy. Piping red. All right, when green flag clicked, the first thing we're going to want to do, so this, these guys, the 3 piping icing placers here, all use the pen tool. We don't use that too much in our projects here. You know, that's an add-on that we get to off the bottom left of the screen here. We click on pens to get these extra new blocks that all have control over pen features, drawing with your screen. All right, so the first thing we want to do is just erase our screen just in case something else has happened. We're also going to do a reset later that's going to erase our screen when we push a button. But for now, let's stick with this. So before we start anything, we're going to erase right at the beginning. We're going to send these guys to their proper location, which is minus 234.33. And that's already down in that spot. You'll see if I make it visible, it's right exactly. Well, let's put them all where they belong here. So they're already lined up properly here, now that I make them visible. Back to the red guy. All right, we'll put a forever in here down below this, forever. And again, we're doing, I probably should have just copied this over from the other guy. Again, there's nothing much happening here with this block, except we're just going to have it show when our backdrop name is pan full screen. So let's, inside here, we'll put an if and an equal sign. Just have to do this one more time, and then we just copy it. And this is an if-else, of course. Let's drop that into the if-else. So if backdrop name equals pan full screen. Make sure again to spell it properly. Then we're going to show. Let's go to our looks. We'll go show, and then we'll hide it if we're not on this full screen, if we're in the other view. Okay, so these guys will all appear when we hit that zoom button, once we finish coding them all up properly. All right. Now, remember that we've got this touching and not touching variable that's being, or it's a message that's being sent over whenever we move our mouse over the gingerbread guy. So we've got 2 different events here. When I receive touching icing, we're just going to change a variable, set icing cookie. set icing cookie to 1. Now this will come into play later. I'm not quite sure what this does yet. We're going to duplicate that, and I'm going to say if not touching icing, we're going to set icing cookie to 0. I'm a little bit baffled by this code, and we'll figure it out in a minute as we continue with this icing dispenser. Okay. All right. When this sprite is clicked, so let's go ahead and do that. Events. When this sprite is clicked, we're going to do a repeat until. So we're actually going to pick this guy up now. These 3 guys are not going to be like the icing bucket where we're going to create a clone off of these. We're actually going to pick these guys up and move them across the screen here. Let's go grab a repeat until. That's going to start that process here. Repeat until mouse down and touching place icing back. So this object here, place icing back here, we're going to have to, it's a little orange circle that appears in certain spots here. When you pull this away, it'll appear right underneath here. And if you bring it back on top of the sensor again, it'll detect that you've put the icing back again, and you won't be able to use it anymore. Okay, so let's go back to my red piping here. Repeat until, we need an and sign here. And we're going to say repeat until mouse down and not touching. So let's go grab a mouse down and touching place icing back. So that's under our sensing as well. Touching place icing back. It's that little orange thing that we're talking about here. All right. So we keep doing that basically until we click on this little orange thing that's going to let our icing go back to its starting place again. All right, let's tell it to go to mouse pointer. So it's just going to stick to our mouse pointer. Go to mouse pointer. There it is. Go to mouse pointer. Broadcast a red gone. So let's go ahead and broadcast an event here. And that's not there, so we'll have to type in a new one called a red gone. And so what that will do is tell our code here that the red has been taken out of its starting point, and that will change a few things in the code when only one of these 3 guys can be in motion at any given time. And so we need to keep track of that. Okay, we're going to broadcast red gone. We're going to go to the front. So let's go to our looks and tell it go to front. And let's grab another, is it an if or an if else there? It is an if statement. So let's grab an if statement there and pop it right underneath. And we're going to say if so here's where we can actually lay the icing down. If our mouse is down and we set that icing cookie to 1, remember that means that we're actually on top of the cookie in that moment. So if mouse down and, let's grab an and sign here. And we're going to go to our sensing and go mouse down and icing cookie equals 1. Grab an equal sign here, and in our variables we'll put icing cookie is equal to 1. And let's grab a repeat until and pop it inside there. So we're just going to keep doing that until we let go of our mouse and we're no longer icing the cookie, meaning where our cursor is no longer on top of the cursor. So actually that's not an and, that's an or there. So if either of those aren't true, then we've stopped drawing. If we let go of our mouse, or if we're no longer on top of our cookie. All right, so we need an or, and we're going to put not mouse down on the left. We'll need a not statement here. Not mouse down, or icing cookie is equal to 0. Let's pop that icing cookie into there. And so here's where we're going to actually do our drawing. So we're going to go to back to our pen commands here. We're going to go set our pen size. Set pen size to 5. That's the default thickness. You can play with that if you want your piping to be thinner or thicker. Let's set the pen color to a nice deep red color, as red as we can get it. That's all 3 of those sliders over to the right here as far as they'll go. You can change those colors as well if you like, and we'll tell the pen to go down so we can start drawing. And we're going to tell it to keep following the mouse pointer. So let's go to mouse pointer here again. So it's going to keep going to the mouse pointer inside this loop here as well. And when it's done, when our mouse comes up again, so right outside of this loop, we're going to tell it to put the pen back up again so we can stop drawing. Pen up right here. And down at the bottom, we're going to tell it to go back to the location. So if we've let go and we've clicked on that little place icing, then everything's going to go back again. Let's go to, and we'll put it back in its original spot, which is minus 234, 33. Okay, and we're going to broadcast a message here as well. Let's go broadcast a red back. So that will tell the code here that our red has been repositioned back into its original spot again, and the other guys will know that and keep track of it. Okay, a couple of other blocks to do in here that all have to do with resetting it. So there's going to be a white gone and a green gone. So we're going to make sure that no matter what happens, this red goes back to its starting position again when you've pulled another one of these guys. So that's what's going to make sure that we never have more than one icing packet out at a given time. So let's go when I receive white gone. Let's go new message. White gone. Then we're going to go back to our starting position here, which is minus 234, 33. Let's duplicate this and we'll do another one for green gone. New message. Green gone. And that's again going to bring us back to our starting position here. All right. One last thing I want to do before we test this. Let's go back to this place icing and code that, because this guy goes to different places depending on which of these guys we place down. We want it in the right place. So let's go when green flag clicked. We're going to go to the default position, which is down here. Minus 205, minus 145. Let's tell it to hide. We don't need it visible here. That's just going to be the resting position. Then we're going to do 3 different blocks depending on, sorry, we're going to go when I receive a white, white gone, white back, green gone, and green back. So we're going to tell this where to go depending on which of these guys we have out. Oh, actually we have 6 of these. So let's go when I receive white gone. And I don't think we have a white back yet. No. So let's duplicate that and say when I receive white back, new message. All right, so we're going to go back to our starting position. So we're going to go to the location of the white first. So let's go to our motion blocks here, and we'll go, okay, hold it. We're going to put one of these down under white back and one under white gone. And the first one has to change. The second one is good. It's at minus 205, 485. When we put it back, that'll bring it back to this position. And when it's gone, we're going to move it to minus 223 and minus 63. There we go. And that's going to pop it into that spot where the white guy is right here. And we're going to do the same for the green and for the red. So I'm just going to do a whole bunch of duplicates here. We just need to do this 6 times, and we just need to change the messages so that and the numbers a little bit. So let's go when green gone, and then we need a new one that says green back. And the last one's going to be red gone. And then red back. There we go. So under green gone here, the second location is going to be good for all three of these. It's just the gone one we have to change here. So this one's minus 223, minus 13 for the green one. And the Y position for the red is going to change to 41. All right, so we're ready to test this now. Let's click the green flag. We'll go stamp our cookie. We'll drop it on the pan. We'll pull it away. We'll max ourselves out here. And let's try, well, let's just do a gumdrop just for a test here because I'm curious. Our gumdrops are working perfectly. Let's grab our red piping here. So I've got this in my hand now. You can see it's not doing anything, but it's sticking to my mouse cursor. And now as I drag across here, we get a lovely red smear across our guy. We'll give him some red hair here. Beautiful. Okay. And we forgot some blocks. The block that made this yellow thing show was what we forgot here. So we have to do some shows and some hides here. So the top row, the gone, is going to make that show. So we're going to need to show 3 times here. And then when we're back, we want to hide again. So let's just put some hides down here. All right, let's test this one more time. Green flag, stamp our cookie, place it down, max our screen out, grab the red. There we are, we're painting, and there's the yellow little thing that appeared there. And when I click to put it back, it drops back into location again. Beautiful. Okay, well, we're very close here. We just need to do the same thing for the green and red piping here. So let's go over to our red guy, and all we have to do is copy all of this code over. What a lot of code to copy over. I wonder if we should just copy the sprite instead. No, I'm just going to stick with it this way. Okay, so let's go to our red guy. I'm just going to make this really small so that I can keep track of all the code that I'm grabbing here. I'm just going to grab every single piece of it. The first piece, second piece, third piece, fourth piece, fifth piece. Well, got to make sure to grab it from the top there, sixth piece. And we'll do the same thing quickly for the white. Just copying every single piece of code over from the red guy to both of the other objects. Now we just need to make a few minor changes here to get it all running. Let's start with the green. So everything's stacked on top of itself. It always brings it to the middle of the file. We can clean that up though by going right click, clean up blocks. That'll stack everything vertically really nicely for us. All right, now I think some of these X coordinates have to change. Let's look at the green piping first. Yeah, so when green flag clicked, let's go minus 235, minus 18 is our new location. Everything else looks good here. Touching icing. And we're just going to have to broadcast a few things here. We're going to broadcast green back here instead of red back. We're going to go green gone here instead of white gone. And we're going to go green, hold it. Oh, no. Okay, so I remember these are the colors that we're not using here. So green back. So when I receive white gone, then we'll go to this location. And when I receive the other one's red gone, we'll go back to here. And I think that's all we need to get the green going. I might have forgotten something, but let's test it out here with the green. Ooh, and we got the white showing. All right, let's soldier through here and see what happens. So I'll drag this over, stamp it down, put it on our plate, maximize my screen, try. Okay, we got some stuff messed up here. All right, just too many little confusing things here. So let me just have a look at the code and I'll get this straightened right out. Okay, the devil's in the details here. There's lots of little things we've got to do here just to get this up and running again. I just went back and had a look at all the things I forgot to do. Firstly, we're going to have to, inside this, when the sprite clicked, we're going to have to change the red gone to green gone. Then these starting positions here all have to be changed. So when green goes back, so we're going to make sure this broadcast says green back. We're going to send it back to the proper location, which is -234, -18. And that same location is where we're going to go back to when white is gone and when red is gone. And the last thing we have to do is change the color of our icing here. So I'm going to click inside this and change to a greeny kind of color. Something that looks kind of like an icing green, maybe a little darker than that. That might be good. All right. That looks like it might work. I'm just going to test all of them at once though. So let's go over to our piping white here. Let's clean up our blocks. I did not copy over all the blocks there. I thought I did. So I got the first 3 here. All right, I'm going to start from the beginning because I just don't want to drag over the wrong things. All right, so back to red. And we'll do the same thing from the beginning here. So grab the first block, move it onto white. Grab the second block, move it onto white. Grab the third, the fourth, the fifth, and 6 chunks of code in total. Okay. Back to the white. Let's clean it up. Clean up blocks. That is not 6 blocks. That's 5. So what is missing? Now we're playing a hunting game here. Not touching, touching when green flag clicked. And I think the main block of code is what's missing here. The big block of code. How did I miss that? Okay, let's drop that onto the white. Okay, here we go. So now let's have a look here. We need a new starting position for the white, and that is going to be probably where it is already. So let's go to our motion blocks. No, we actually don't want -234.33. Let's see what that number is supposed to be. It's -234, -69. There we go. That's the first part. Let's scroll down. We got touching icing. Now we want this white gone to be red gone now. There we go. Over here we want to set the pen color to white. There's a lovely white. We want to broadcast white back down here at the bottom. Any place else we have to change anything? Place icing back. And broadcast white gone here. All right. I think we might have everything. It'll be a miracle if it is all here though. We'll give it one little test here and see if all our colors are working. So green flag, stamp our thing down, maximize our screen, grab some red. The red's looking good. We'll place it back. Oh, our place back is not working properly here. All right, so the few things going here. Our green looks like it might be working. Oh, there's our beautiful green color. Nice, and our place back is working for that one. And our white has completely disappeared here. It's probably underneath the red guy, yeah. So we've got this guy going back to the wrong position. Okay, I'll have a quick look at my code here and figure out where I went wrong. It's probably not too hard to find. And we're getting very close here, guys. Yeah, as I suspected, it was no big deal. Over here in the piping white, we changed the location once to -69y here, but there were a couple of other places, 3 more places. We had to fix that address and bring it back to its home coordinates here, which is -234, -69, once at the bottom of this code here. And I believe that is all it takes here. So let's go test this game out again. Green flag, stamp our cookie down, maximize our screen. Let's start with the red, the easy one that we know works. The red's working. Put the red back, grab the green. Get our green working beautifully. Put it back, grab our white, and there's our white as well. Lovely. And our gumdrops are still working fine here. Lovely. Okay, so all we need now is our little reset button to get us back to start again. And then we are officially done. So let's go code our reset button. And that one's pretty simple. We'll just go when green flag clicked. We're going to hide this. We only want it to be visible while we're painting our guys, of course. Then we're going to tell it to go to its home position, which is -203, 158. That's good. All right, so when it's clicked, when this sprite is clicked, we're going to broadcast a message that says reset. There we go. We've already set up our reset over in one of our other sprites. I forget which one, but that's just going to do going to clear off all of our clones and erase our board. Then we also need one more here that says when I receive cookie up close. So that's when we do the zoom, we're going to want this to be visible. Remember, it's hiding here when we click the green flag. So let's tell it to show right here, and that will make our button appear. All right, I have a sneaking feeling that there's one more thing we have to do, but let's try this out here and see how it works. Oh, we forgot our background music, of course. All right, let's go click that down here, put our thing down, max our screen out. Let's just draw a little bit on one of these things. Give them a pair of little white creepy eyes here. Put that back. A couple of gumdrop buttons. Looking good. You can change any of these colors around if you like. This is fairly typical kind of color scheme for a gingerbread cookie, but you can go wild with this if you want. You can even program extra squirty bottles if you wanted to, or new gumdrops. There's all kinds of ways you could remix this. Okay, let's click the reset button here. And the reset button worked on the clones, but it did not work on the paint. We just need an erase all here when this sprite, when this sprite clicked. I don't know whether that was the master plan or not, but it obviously is what we could do here. So let's just go ahead and do that right now. We'll just go to our pen tool and we'll go erase all when the sprite clicked, and that will clear up all those problems. I'm sure it's somewhere else in the code, but we don't have to worry about it right now. I see this full screen button doesn't look like it's in the right spot. It's kind of offset a little bit. Maybe it has to do with the shape of this pan. Just going to check it against the reference game that Liam did here. Oh, this is supposed to disappear when we're at full screen. So why is it not? When the sprite clicked, the reset button should hide. Yeah, when the sprite clicked, the reset button should hide. Okay, that'll get it out of our way. All right, one last try here. Oh, and I forgot our music. Before we play this game one last time, let's get our festive music going. So, as I mentioned to you, one of our co-op students, Kaylin, who just started with us this week, turns out to be quite a talented little composer. Well, not little. He's anyway. So over here in our background, we're just going to start an endless loop going, and we're going to play his original song, which we have named Gingerbread Hearts. I'll play it for you right now. It's a lovely little track, and it's what we were using in the lobby here before we started as well. So I'm quite happy to include that in our game. It's always good to have original music instead of just using the same old loops. So we'll put a forever, and we'll go play sound until done. Gingerbread Hearts. There we go. Now let's play our game one last time here. Click green flag. There we go. Let's make our cookies. Let's decorate our cookies. I will put some green gumdrop eyes on my guy. And we'll fringe him in white a little bit. I should do this a lot more carefully. I'm kind of whipping through this quickly. Lovely. And a couple of buttons, red gumdrop buttons. Well, is this a lame gingerbread man or what? Okay, let's do just a green little neck thing here, maybe some sleeves. All right, so guys, this is a very customizable project. You can see I'm going to hit the reset button or stop here. Everything's back. So you can change this cookie graphic around. You could add new cookies to it if you wanted to. It wouldn't be difficult. You can change the colors. You could, instead of gumdrops, you could do all kinds of fun, sparkly little toy things. You can add sound effects to this as you're working along through it. There's just so many different things you could do with it. So I want you guys to go off and remix this game. I've made a remix room for it, and we're ready to go with that. So remix this game and show us what you can do. You've got nothing better to do over the Christmas holidays, boys and girls, so show me what you can make here. In the meantime, I just want to wish all you guys a Merry Christmas. I am going to be back in 2 weeks. I'm going to take a little bit of a vacation and enjoy Christmas with my family. This has been quite a year for me. I'm not going to see you guys until the new year, but thank you all for sticking with me through this time. We started right in the depths of COVID, and we've all grown so much and changed so much in the last few months as we've been doing this together. I want to say, give a shout out to all the my friends on the live stream who join me every week, and all my co-op students who've done so much to help make this possible. So thank you very much. I'm looking forward to doing even more fun coding with you guys in the new year. And we're going to do a whole bunch of more arcade games. And just keep those suggestions coming. I'm happy to do all the games you guys want to build with me. So this has been a lot of fun. I'm very, very happy to be doing this, and I hope to do it for a long time to come. So thanks, guys. Happy holidays to all of you, and I will see you on January 9th, I'm thinking. The second weekend of January. Thanks, and we'll see you later.